Okay, so here we are booted into our Plasma desktop environment. If you followed along from the last video, this is just the vanilla Plasma desktop experience here. I'm going to be cleaning this up a little bit. There's really three ways that I've found work for organizing desktops, and they kind of follow the three paradigms of operating systems that you typically run into. The first one, the one that comes by default on Plasma, is the one that kind of looks like Windows 7 and Windows 10. You have your bottom panel here with your system tray in the lower right-hand corner, your favorited apps and icons over here in the bottom left, and then on the furthest side of the left you have your start menu, essentially. So if you like this layout, you don't really have a whole lot of customizing to do. It's already done for you. This is the default experience. So congratulations, you're done. But for everyone else who doesn't really care for that, the other two that I've worked with, the other big one really is the Mac OS paradigm, where it has the application dock at the bottom, and then the top has a top bar. For Macintosh, they have a global menu bar up at the top with like a little start in the top left, or like about computer in the top left. Then there's system tray and finder and stuff like that, or spotlight in the top right. And then the last one, the one that's probably least familiar if you're coming from Windows or Mac, is kind of the GNOME 2 way of organizing a desktop, which kind of has like a top bar and a bottom bar. So I'm not going to be going over the Windows 7 stuff, Windows 10 stuff, or the GNOME 2 sort of stuff. Honestly, the Mac user experience is really good. I like how they organize their desktop, and that's what this RICE is going to kind of focus on, is emulating some of those without really making it a one-to-one recreation of like Big Sur. So I know there's a lot of videos out there for that sort of customization if that's what you're looking for. That's not really what this video is going to be. It's mostly just to kind of emulate some of their user experience and make the Plasma desktop a little bit prettier, in my opinion, to look at. So this is going to be divided into 5 parts here. Number one, the first thing we're going to do is install a Arch user repository helper called Yay. And I'll get into that, a little bit of background information on that when we get going. Second part is going to be downloading and configuring the Latte Dock to get our application dock at the bottom and a top bar at the top. Number 3 is installing some GTK theming, the global icon theme, or I'm sorry, the global theme, icon theme, and the Kvantum theme manager, just to make sure that everything is working well together. Fourth thing is setting our splash screen, and fifth is setting our display manager, Sddm, to be less ugly when we log in. So those are the 5 I'll be going over today. Number 1, downloading and installing Yay. For those of you who are kind of new to Arch Linux, there's 2 reasons why I've found a lot of, well, maybe 3 reasons why a lot of people are really drawn toward Arch Linux. Number 1 is the amount of control it gives the user when installing packages and pretty much building your distro from the ground up. So you don't really have to worry about a lot of bloat that comes pre-packaged with a distribution like Ubuntu, for example. There might be a lot of programs that you don't need in Ubuntu that come pre-installed and kind of slows down the system. And if you're like me and you're coming from Windows or Macintosh to get away from the bloat, the last thing you want to do is just install more Linux bloat. So that's a real big benefit of Arch. Another one is a lot of people, especially I think gamers, rely on the rolling distribution model, where there's not like these big landmark releases for the operating system, like, oh man, in 6 months we're getting our update, the first update we've had for 2 years. There are a lot of distributions like that. Ubuntu's like that. Once you're installed with Arch, you're on pretty much the only version of Arch there is, because it's constantly being updated. That's the rolling distribution model. So when the kernel is updated, or when packages are updated, or when drivers are updated, once they get vetted by the Arch team, they're immediately made available on their repositories, and then they're available for you to download and install on your system. The third advantage, which I've already lost it, of what I wanted to talk about for Arch. Oh yeah, the third advantage is access to the Arch user repository. And so there's a delineation between the official repositories and the user repositories, the AUR. The official repositories, all the packages in there are selected and vetted by the Arch team, so they tend to be very stable and well supported. Whereas the Arch user repositories packages are uploaded and maintained by the user base. And so there's a benefit and a drawback to that. The biggest benefit is you pretty much have access to whatever program you could possibly want. If it's available anywhere on Linux, it'll be available in the Arch user repository. So this makes Arch one of the most comprehensive distributions out there if you're trying to find packages, far more than say like Debian, which doesn't support like proprietary software very well. The big drawback of the Arch user repository is it's not vetted by the official team. So there are chances that you could run into malware if you're not overlooking the code yourself. And I think that's a pretty small chance that you're going to run into something that actually is like spying on you or breaking your system or a virus. The bigger threat or the bigger problem you might run into is if someone is maintaining a package that you rely on, say for work, and they get a different job and they're no longer maintaining that package because they have a family or a different career or whatever. That package, I forget what it's called now. Anyway, the package will no longer be maintained. It'll fall out of date, and then when the system gets updated by Arch, like say the kernel gets updated by Arch or a new program gets updated by Arch, and then the package you have from the AUR is a dependency of that package that just got updated, it might break, right? If you're relying on that to be up to date and someone stops maintaining it, then it's going to fall on someone else's shoulder to maintain it, fall on your shoulders to maintain it, or no one maintains it and then you're forced to find an alternative. So it's kind of not as reliable, and I think this is where Arch gets the reputation of being an unstable distribution, even though I've never really run into stability problems with Arch. But I'm just throwing it out there because we're about to install a helper, an AUR helper called Yay, and a lot of the packages that we're going to be dealing with today come from the AUR. Now, big disclaimer up front, it's very, very strongly discouraged using an AUR helper to install packages from the Arch user repository. The best practice is always to build them from the source code yourself. If you don't know, or if you haven't used, or if you don't trust some packages coming from the AUR, then you need to do your homework and make sure that they're on the up and up. All the packages I'm installing today I trust, so I'm comfortable using the AUR in this capacity, but again, your mileage may vary if you're straying away from the packages that I'm talking about in this video. One last thing about the AUR, I kind of liken it to Wikipedia as far as security is concerned. Yeah, Wikipedia is not 100% reliable, but the democratic way in which information is processed and checked and vetted, it functions very similarly to how it works on the AUR. The community does a pretty good job of self-policing. And so always read the comments on the packages that you want to install through the AUR, and they'll usually let you know if something's a little amiss, right? Okay, so all that being said, let's jump into downloading and installing the AUR. The first thing that you're going to want to do is come down here and connect to your Wi-Fi. If you had just installed Arch, you were connected through the installers, I think it's WCTL, WLAN CTL, something like that. So you may have already been connected to the internet as you were installing Arch, and now that you've booted into your desktop environment, you're no longer connected. It's easy to overlook. Just get connected to Wi-Fi. Second thing I like to do actually is I'm going to hit the super key, which is going to bring up my my launcher here, my app launcher. I'm going to pop into the settings, and I'm going to come down here to keyboard shortcuts, set a custom shortcut for console. And so we have here launch console, no default shortcuts. I'm going to add a custom shortcut, and I'm going to change that to super and enter, or meta plus return, which is how they talk about it, and then hit apply. We're going to be in and out of the console or the terminal pretty regularly during this process, so just having it quickly accessible by hitting the super key, the Windows key, and enter is going to be really convenient. So we're going to pop over here into our terminal. First thing we're going to want to do is update our system. So sudo pacman-S_YYU. That'll update all of our repositories and any out-of-date packages. So let that go ahead and run. Nothing to do. I'm up to date. Now we need to clear the terminal, Control L, or you can type clear. We're going to download a package called git. So sudo pacman-S git. Proceed with installation. Remember that whatever the capitalized letter here is the default if you just hit enter. So when you see proceed with installation, capital Y, lowercase n, if you just hit enter, it'll say yes. So git will go ahead and install. Clear the terminal, Control L. And what git does is it allows us to sync our computer with GitHub repositories, essentially. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. So we're going to sudo git, and we're going to clone into this website here, https://aur.archlinux.org/yay.git. And you can see it cloning into yay, syncs everything up. We're good to go to the next step. We need to change the ownership of what we just cloned into. So sudo chown, or change owner, -R, and then your username, whatever profile you're on right now. I'm on my profile called Ambro, :users, and then yay. So we've changed the ownership now. We're going to cd, or change directory. So actually, before we change directory, if we type ls, we're going to list the directories within our current directory, the folders, the contents of our current directory. So I've hit list. I'm in my home directory, so that's why you see like documents, music, videos, that sort of stuff. You'll notice in the lower right-hand corner right here, we have a folder that we just downloaded, or we just synced up through our Git package called yay. So that's where we're going to be going. So we're going to hit cd yay. And so now if we hit ls, we see the contents of the yay folder. And you can verify this if you come to your file manager here. Mine is called Dolphin. Yours should be too if you're on Plasma. And we have the yay folder here. And then we have pkg build, package build, and that's what we have the contents here listed as. Right? So we're just dealing with one, the graphical interface, or two, text-based interface. So now that we're in yay, we're going to build that package and install it. So make package mkepkg-si, and that's going to go ahead and install it for us. This might take a second or two. Proceed with installation, yes. Okay, so it just finished installing yay. We're going to hit cd to change back to our home directory, and you can type clear or Control L to clear the terminal, and we can get started with our second process here, which is installing Latte Dock. So a little bit about yay. It functions very similarly to Pacman, your package manager, but you don't need to run it, actually you should never run it as super user. So you don't ever need sudo yay, just type yay to get going. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search for Latte Dock and see what packages come up. So you can see on the AUR there's a package called Latte Dock-git, and on the community repository there's a Latte Dock. I want the most up-to-date one. I want Latte Dock Git. It has a few features that we're going to use that aren't available on the current release, or on the release currently hosted by the official repositories. So we're going to type yay -s latte-dock.-git. And I'm going to keep the dependencies even after the installation. And hit none, proceed with installation, yes. Okay, so Latte Dock has just finished installing. I'm going to go ahead and close my terminal for now. And we're going to hit the super key, or you can come down here to your launcher and type in Latte Dock. Just go ahead and get it started, and it should be the option here. So pop open Latte Dock. It'll take a second to boot up, but it should give us now a bottom application dock similar to Mac OS. Now at this point, actually I'm going to pop back into my terminal. I need a browser. The default Plasma packages that we installed during our installation comes with a browser. I like to use Brave, so I'm going to use yay. I'm going to search -ss for Brave, just to remember the package name, and we're looking for right here brave-bin, web browser that blocks ads and trackers by default. Now you don't have to use Brave. I can have another video on what I view the benefits of Brave as, but I know that it's kind of contentious in the community right now whether or not Brave is a good browser to use for privacy reasons, or if it's a bad browser to use because it reinforces the Chromium-based monopoly that Google kind of has on web browsers right now. You might prefer Firefox. You might prefer some sort of hardened Chromium. I don't really care what you get, but it is, most browsers are available either through the official repositories or through the Arch user repositories, so you can search for your browser through Yay the same way I just did with Brave and go ahead and install one. So I'm going to install Brave-bin here, and that'll be a couple seconds. We'll be back after that installation. Okay, Brave just finished installing. Close that out. We have two bottom panels now that we have the Latte Dock and the default panel that comes with Plasma. So we're going to need to get rid of the default one. So before we do that, I'm going to hit the super key. I'm going to come into settings. Right here, if you're coming into the regular one, go to auto start. You see that Latte Dock auto starts. We're going to come here, click on that little menu, go to application, and it says command here. We're going to change ours to latte-dock-replace. Okay, so let's get rid of the default bottom panel now that we have Latte Dock up and running. Get Brave open, just so we have it open. Set default as Brave browser. Yes, I'm going to hold on to that screen for a second. I'm going to right click on the bottom panel. I'm going to go to Edit Panel. Running over here to More Options, click on More Options, and up at the top right there we have Remove Panel. Panel has been removed. Close all this, close all that, and on my Brave icon or whatever your browser is, I'm going to right click and I'm going to Pin to Launcher. So now we have Brave at our fingertips for when we need to access a browser. Cool, so let's go ahead and set up our bottom and our top panels. Before we do that though, I'm going to head over to archlinux.org. I'm going to come over to the wiki real quick because there's an awesome feature that comes with Plasma called KRunner. KRunner kind of focuses a little bit like Macintosh's, I think it's called Spotlight, might be Finder. I think Finder is their application menu. I think it's Spotlight. And I like to map it to just the super key, so when I press my super key, KRunner pops up and I can search for whatever I want in my system or online. It's a really handy feature. And so if you search for KRunner in the Arch user in the Arch wiki, you have this option here, open KRunner with the meta key. That's exactly what I want to do. So we're going to highlight that, copy, come over to our console, Control-Shift-V to paste it in there, and let it run. At this point, to apply the setting, we need to reboot our current session. So I'm going to come over here, Control-Alt-Delete, and log out. So we've logged back into a new session, and now when we press our super key, you'll see KRunner pop up over here, and you can search for whatever you'd like, and it just pops open documents, applications. It's a really helpful program to just have at your fingertip. So we have our bottom dock here. Let's get this one customized first. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to Edit Dock. From here, I want to toggle the advanced options, and we're going to deal first with appearance. So 64, the absolute size, 64 pixels. I like it at that size. I think that's good for my laptop screen at 1080p. You might like it a little bit bigger. You might like it a little bit smaller. Wherever you want it for your usage case, this is the slider that does that. I'm going to leave mine at the default 64 pixels. Now the zoom on hover, the next one we have the ability to change right here. I don't really care for zoom on hover. You might really like it. You can change how much it zooms right here. I'm just going to drag that all the way down so it doesn't zoom at all. I think it's a little outdated right now, the zoom on hover. It comes from, I think it's called Liquid, the design philosophy from Mac OS. It just feels old, and I'm not even confident that Mac OS is using it anymore. I think it might still have the option. But in any case, I just remove it. Feel free to keep it if you'd like. Length, we can keep at maximum. Margins, thickness, screen edge, I think that's all fine for now. We might come back to it in a second. But what I do want to get changed here is the size of the background. I don't like my dock really to look like a dock. I like it to encompass my icons in a box. I like this look more. Depending on where you put the slider will determine how big your dock looks. I like it there. I also like to change the opacity to about 20%. So it's a little bit see-through. Again, you might like a completely opaque background or a completely invisible background. That's up to you. I'm going to leave mine at around 20%. So the next option we have here, radius. You'll notice that my corners are squared off right now. For the customization that I'm going to do today, I like to round those out a bit. So I'm going to bring that up to around 30%. And now I'm going to offset the bottom down here a little bit by bringing up the screen edge. So let's change that to maybe 10 pixels. Actually, let's change it to 5 pixels. If I can get it there. There we go, 5 pixels. So now we have like this sort of floating dock, which I like. Again, you might like your squared or connected to the bottom of your screen. That's how you're going to play with it. For this customization, I like the rounded corners, and I like it just floating off the bottom of the screen to kind of give us almost like a Chrome OS sort of bottom dock here with the nice soft round edges. That's all I'm going to use for now, or that's all I'm going to change for now. I like to leave my bottom dock looking like this. Now, let's come over here to the Add button in the lower left-hand corner of this screen. Click Add, and we want Default Panel. Or actually, let's do Empty Panel. So we're going to click Empty Panel. We're going to close this out. And now you'll notice that we have our top bar up here, completely devoid of any sort of widgets or trays. So let's go ahead and get this one customized. So same way we did it last time, we're going to right click, go to Edit Panel, come over here to Appearance. I like my panel a little bit smaller than 40 pixels. Again, on a 1080p laptop screen, 40 pixels takes up a lot of screen real estate. So I'm going to take mine down to, let's say, 26. That looks good to me. And then I want my top bar, to have the same sort of layout as my bottom application dock with those floating rounded corners. So we're going to do it the same way. We're going to change the opacity down here to 20% so it matches. I'm going to peel it off the screen edge just a little bit. I think 5 pixels is what we determined last time. And then I'm going to change my radius to about 30%, I believe is what we did. And now I need to peel off the sides of the corners, right, from the screen, because it connects here and it connects here. So that's going to be our maximum length. Let's see what 95% looks like. Ooh, way too much. Let's go 99%. So now we have this nice rounded corner here. Let me close that so you can see it a little bit better. We have these nice rounded corners up here. It's floating right off the bottom of the top of the screen here, and then nice rounded corners around the other side. So these two match. I like this. I think it's a really modern design. And this is the reason why we needed the Latte Dock Git package to be able to do this sort of customization. All you're doing is just like a default Mac OS style top bar that's connected onto all the 3 sides of the screen. Then you don't need Latte Dock Git. You can just use the official Latte Dock. So we're going to come over here and add some widgets now to our top bar. I'm going to right click, add widgets. The first widget I want to add is our application launcher. So in the search field here, type in launcher. I like the application menu. It's a little bit more austere. It's a little bit more understated than this big fancy app launcher that you might find in other distributions, or you also have the application dashboard, which is pretty similar to, I think, what you would find in GNOME. That takes up the whole screen, almost like it's an iPad. But I like the simple app menu. I don't actually get into my application launcher very frequently, but when I do, I don't like it to be this big fanfare when I open it up. So I'm going to left click on it, and I'm going to drag it over here and drop it into the left-hand side of my top bar. And now when you click it, you have a pretty simple nested application menu where you can search for the program that you're looking for. I still find KRunner to be a better solution for this, but it's an option for you if you're used to kind of like a Microsoft Windows 7, Windows 10 experience. All right, so now we're going to add our system tray. Go ahead and right click, add widgets. In the search field here, search for tray, and we'll see the system tray. Drag and drop over to the right hand side, and it'll populate with our system tray. This is configurable if you'd like to organize what icons appear in your system tray. You can do that by right clicking on your panel, going to Edit Dock. You'll get into this layout here. If you hover over it, you can click on the little configuration applet and then select what appears and what doesn't. I like the default, but you can peruse this on your own time. If you don't want your clipboard, for example, you can turn your clipboard off. So the last widget I want to add now is our clock. So I'm going to right click, go to add widgets. Now the default clock is fine, but I think it's kind of ugly. So I like to download a different clock. We're going to come up here to the upper right hand corner of this window, get new widgets, download new Plasma widgets. So once the menu loads, come over here to the search field. We're looking for a widget called Better Inline Clock. So if you just search for inline, it should pop up right here, Better Inline Clock. And once it's done loading, we'll be able to install it. Go ahead and hit install and close out. So now when we right click, add widgets, search for inline clock, Better Inline Clock, drag it to the center. And these two now, our app launcher and our clock, I do want to edit just to clean up the look a little bit. So we're going to right click on our panel, edit dock, hover over it, go into the settings. For the inline clock, I think for my liking, the text is a little bit too big. So we're going to scroll down to used fixed font size, and I'm going to change that to about 16. So that's going to shrink it up a little bit. I also don't like the format that much, so I'm going to come over here to date format. I'm going to go to custom date, and I'm going to hit apply. And that just cleans it up a little bit too. So I'm going to hit OK, close out of that, close out of everything so you can see it. I think that's a nice clean look for the clock, just how I like it. Feel free to play with the settings to tune it up to your sensibilities a little bit more. So the last thing I want to change is the icon for our application menu. So we're going to right click on the dock, edit dock, hover over, go into settings, click on the icon and go to choose. Then I'm going to go to other icons and I'm going to select the Arch Linux logo and hit apply. Now you can select whatever icon you want here. You can even download an icon off the internet and use it. I like to use the Arch icon because how else are people supposed to know that you use Arch, bro? So we're going to sit the Arch icon here. Close out, and we got our little Arch icon to let everyone know that we use Arch. So now we have the Latte Dock set up the way we want it. I want to get some theming now to wrap up the visual part of our desktop environment. So let's jump into that. The first package we're going to need, there's actually two. So we're going to search first for yay-ss. We're looking for Kvantum. And we're looking for the bottom one here, the Kvantum Qt5, an SVG-based theme engine for Qt5, including configuration, tool, and extra themes. So let's go ahead and download that, yay-s, or you can use Package Manager here, Kvantum-Qt5, enter your password, and let that install. The next thing we need, let me clear the terminal, yay-ss, we're going to search for GTK Plasma, and we're looking for the KDE GTK configuration, which says it's actually already installed, which is good to know. That didn't used to install with the Plasma packages. So we'll download it and reinstall it anyway, just so we're thorough. This isn't a necessary step, but in case yours isn't installed for whatever reason, you'll have to do this. KDE-GTK-config, let that install, and we're good to go. Now some theming things that I like. We're going to install the Papyrus icon theme. For me, Papyrus icon theme is what Linux looks like. One of my earlier distributions that I got into was Manjaro and their GNOME distribution, and it came with the Papyrus icon themes pre-installed, and ever since then any other icon theme just looks wrong to me. So I always go with Papyrus. You might like Breeze, you might like Adwaita, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. You might like whatever comes with Ubuntu. I don't really care what icon theme you like, but you'll have the option to install whatever icons you want a little bit later in the video. I like the Papyrus icon theme, so that's the one we're going with. I also want the Arc theme, so we're going to search for that, yay-ss Arc theme. We're going to see what pops up. So we need this one here, the Arc GTK theme, so let's go ahead and install that, yay-s arc-gtk-theme. Proceed with installation. Get that one installed. And now we also need it for KDE. So you can get this two ways. You can get it through the package manager, how we're going to do it right now, but you can also get it through settings, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. So for now, let's search for it. We want Arc KDE, And we're looking for, should be under the AUR. Here we go. Arc-KDE, Arc theme for KDE Plasma 5. So let's go ahead and install that. A-S Arc-KDE. We'll leave it on the default. Get that installed. And let's go ahead and close our terminal. I'm going to pop open KRunner. I'm actually going to edit KRunner a little bit right now. So I'm going to hit my super key, come in here to the settings. I like to center KRunner and deselect retain previous search, hit apply, close it out. So now when we hit KRunner, it pops up in the middle of our screen. I think that's a sexier place for KRunner. So we're going to pop into settings. We're going to click on appearance. We're going to select on our global theme, Arc Dark, and hit apply. And that's immediately going to change some of our theming here, but not all of our theming. We're going to come down to application style. We're going to select Quantum. We'll come back to that in a second. Come down to plasma style. We're going, actually back up to application style. We need to come over here to configure GNOME GTK and make sure Arc Dark is selected. Hit apply there. Now we're going to come down to plasma style, make sure Arc Dark is selected. Colors, make sure Arc Dark is selected. Window decorations, you guessed it, we're going to make sure Arc Dark is selected. Hit apply. Come over here to title buttons. I like to organize mine a little odd. I'm going to drag the icon out. I'm going to drag the pin out. I'm going to drag the question mark out. I'm going to drag the close button all the way to the left-hand side, and then I'm going to leave the minimize button out and the maximize / full screen button on the right-hand side, and hit apply. You can obviously do whatever you'd like in that part. Fonts, you can leave or change depending on your liking. I'm going to leave them for now. Icons, I like the Papyrus Dark, which is already selected. Cursors, I like to leave it on Breeze. I really like the default Breeze cursors, and we'll come down to splash screen a little bit later. Now you can see that the theming is sort of applied and sort of not. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to hit our KRunner key, and I'm going to search for Quantum. With our Quantum Manager, we're going to go to Change Delete Theme. We're going to select it, and we're going to come over here to KV Arc Dark. We're going to use this theme. We're going to quit. And now you'll notice that the theme is applied in its totality to our system. Now you might run into an issue. Let me pop open the settings again. You'll notice here that in our settings panel, this banner is still the wrong color. So we need to actually go change a configuration file in our terminal to correct this. So in order to change this, let's open up our terminal. We're looking for a configuration file in a hidden folder, so we need to change directory, CD, and we're going to change it to ~.config/. And so now we're in our configs folder, and we can list the contents here by typing ls, and we'll see all of these little hidden ones. We're going to look for KDE globals. So that's right here, KDE globals. So if we want to jump into that, or actually just edit that, we're going to use our Vim editor, Vim, KDE, and then you can start typing it and hit tab and it should autofill. KDE Globals, hit enter. Now this might not be best practice, but this is the solution I found that works. So we're going to hit I, and we're going to highlight and delete everything. And at that point, hit escape, colon, WQ to write and quit. And then we're going to exit out of that. And now I'm going to reboot, or I'm not reboot. I'm going to log out of my session, restart my session. All right, so we're back here into our desktop. Now if you open up KRunner, run settings, you should have a correctly themed settings profile. Dolphin should be themed correctly. Our themes should have been applied at this point. If your theme isn't applied, if you open up settings and it's all white or the banner's still there, try coming over here to Appearance and reselecting and applying the Arc Dark theme, and that should hopefully fix your problem. I know that sometimes theming can get a little bit weird on KDE Plasma, but I've found that this is a consistent way of fixing any theming issues. So let's close that out. The next thing I want to do, open up KRunner, go to Settings. We're looking for our splash screen. Coming over here to Splash. You can change it to whatever you'd like. I'm going to get a new splash screen, so click on Get New Splash Screen. And I'm going to search for Arch. Give that a second to load. Scroll down through all the ugly ones. I like this simple one here, Yaplast Arch Linux. I'm going to click Install. And then I'm going to hit Close. Click on it, hit Apply. So now when we log in through Sddm, our display manager, we'll have this nice little circular loading icon with our Arch logo here. Again, we want everyone to know we use Arch. That's the most important part about using Arch, is that you need to brag about it as much as possible. So anytime you can get some Arch branding on your desktop environment, either in this little icon or on your splash screen, or like a little sticker you can put on your computer, or on a water bottle, or a t-shirt, or a hat, or in your diary, or whatever you want to like display to the world, just make sure that they know you use Arch, because you're smart, and I'm smart, and I'm important. And so that's why we use Arch. Okay, so let's close that out. And we're going to move on to customizing the display manager right now. And we need a package to allow us to do that. So we're going to open up our terminal by hitting the super key and enter. And we're going to use Yay to search for Sddm. And we're looking for this one here, Sddm-KCM, which is the KDE config module for Sddm. You'll see that on my system, it's already installed. That's not always going to be the case, or at least historically that hasn't been the case, but maybe the new Plasma packages, meta packages, come with Sddm-KCM pre-installed. But either way, we're going to reinstall it just to be thorough. Again, not a necessary step here. Type in your password, proceed with installation, and we're good. Coming over here to KRunner, and we're going to search for settings. We're going to scroll down, actually just search for Sddm, and you'll see login screen, Sddm. And they have the default Breeze one. I'm going to hit apply. It's going to ask for my password. And then I'm also going to synchronize settings. And this is going to just make the theming consistent from my desktop to my display manager. So things like my font, my icons, my cursor, all of that is going to be consistent from the time I log in to when I actually get into my desktop environment. So I'm going to hit synchronize. It's going to ask for my password again. And then I'm going to be good. Go ahead and close that out. And if you want to change the wallpaper, change the background, you can with this icon here. I'm not going to, but that is always an option. So we're going to close that out. And then I'm going to right click, configure desktop and wallpaper, and change it to something. I like the default ones well enough. Change it to something that suits a dark theme a little bit better, because that's what we're using. I like Ella Run. I think that's a really clean background, looks nice with our theming. You can always use something like Flow or any sort of custom images that you may have collected throughout the years. Whatever you want to use, doesn't really bother me. Let's just go use Ella Run. Hit apply there. And then a couple more things in the settings menu that I want to change. So open up settings. We're going to search for blur. Hit desktop effects, search again for blur. It says blur is the background behind semi-transparent windows. We're going to go into the settings. We're going to turn the noise down to light, hit OK. And so it's going to make our transparent dock here a little less staticky. So that's what noise does. If you want to turn the noise all the way up and hit apply, it's not super visible. There on the bottom bar it is. You see how much like artifacts are in it now, how much noise is in it. I don't like having a lot of noise. So again, I'm going to come in here, take that all the way out, hit apply. So back in settings, search for corners or screen edges, click on that. I don't like these to trigger anything. If you're coming from like GNOME, if you go all the way over to the upper left-hand corner, you trigger your activities menu. I just like no action on both of these. I turn them off so I don't have to hit anything or do anything weird with the edges. Some people really like this for their workflow. I haven't found any good uses for it, but you can always customize it here if you'd like. So we're going to close that out. I'm going to drag this off, actually right click, unpin whatever that is. Feel free to customize your, let's pin that. Feel free to customize your bottom panel here with whatever icons you want, whatever programs you like. I'm not going to do any customization down here for today, but you can always get rid of this weird clock down here too if you don't like it. Okay, so that's it for our desktop theming. There's one other thing I want to do, and that's customize our terminal, make it a little bit sexier, make it a little sleeker. So we're going to pop open our terminal. We're going to hit yay, -S, and we're going to install the Z shell, Zish. Oops, here we go, get your password in there. Install Zish. Cool. Now that we have Zish installed, we're going to run it. On the first time you run Zish, it's going to ask you to create a configuration file, hit the number 0, clear your terminal, and now we're running Zish. Okay, so now that we're here in Zish, I'm going to come and open up my browser. There's a lot of commands that I don't have memorized and that I don't have written down that I need to search for as we do this. Right away, you'll notice that the theming is wrong on your browser. If you're using a Chromium-based browser like Google Chrome, Chromium, or Brave, you might see something that looks a little bit like this, with a top bar that is themed correctly, and then your tabs sitting underneath it. If you want, you can right-click by the tab, use System Title Bar and Borders, and that'll turn that off. And then come over here to Settings, and use GTK, and that'll theme our browser appropriately. I also like to turn on the dark theme just for some consistency. Great. So the first thing we're going to install is a settings and plugin manager called ZSH, Oh My Zish. We're going to click on the GitHub one. It's the second hit for me. Scroll down, and we're going to use the curl method here to install it. So go ahead and copy that. Come over here to our terminal. That's going to be Control-Shift-V. Hit Enter. Let that run. It's going to ask you if you want to change your default shell to Z shell. Hit yes. Type in your password. And now Oh My Zish should be your default shell. And just to verify that, go ahead and close your browser. Not your browser. Close your terminal. All right, so opening the terminal back up. We're booted into the Z shell by default now. If yours doesn't do this, you may have to start a new session. So log out of your desktop environment, log back in, and then when you open up your terminal, it should be in the Z shell. So there's a couple of plugins I want to install. The first plugin is the ZSH Auto Suggestions. So I'm going to go ahead and search for that. We want the GitHub. Scrolling down to install.md, give that a click. We're going to use ohmyzish for the installation. Copy that, Control-Shift-V to paste it in. It'll clone into the repository and install it for us. Now, we need to add the plugin to ohmyzish. To do that, we follow step 2 here. So we're going to type in vim, that's our text editor, tilde, /.zshrc, hit enter. We're going to be greeted to our document here, our configuration document. Hit I, hit page down, or scroll down to where we see plugins. And the first plugin we have here is the Git plugin. We're going to add what they have here, this guy, ZSH-Auto Suggestions. ZSH-Auto Suggestions. Escape, WQ, enter, Control-L, clear the terminal. The next one we want is the ZSH highlighter. Same process, we want the GitHub. Scroll down to install.md. Scroll down to ohmyzish, the plugin manager, and follow the same process. Copy it, Control-Shift-V to paste, enter, let it install. I'm going to hit the up arrow on my keyboard twice to get back to my configuration through Vim. Hit enter, hit I, and we're going to add this one here, ZSH-syntax-highlighting. ZSH-syntax-highlighting. Escape, WQ. Great. Control-L. Now, before I finish up the theming here, I need to install 2 different fonts. The first one is Deja Vu. The second one is Power Level 10K. So let's install Deja Vu. Let's give that a search. We want this bottom one here, TTF-Deja Vu. So we're going to yay-s TTF-Deja Vu. Let that install. Clear the terminal, Control-L. And then we're going to search for Power Level 10K. And we want the TTF right here, this font. So yay-s TTF-Meslo-nerd-font-power level 10K. Let that install. Cool. Control-L to clear. With those 2 fonts installed, we're going to come back over here to our browser. We're going to search for Power Level 10K GitHub. We're going to click on this first hit, Power Level 10K. We're going to install that through ohmyzish. So select the code here, Control-Shift-V, let that clone and install. And then we need to follow the same idea, hit up several times to get back to your vim ZSHRC so we can edit the config file. Hit I, hit page up, and we're looking for ZSH theme right here where it says Robbie Russell. We're going to delete Robbie Russell out of there, and we're going to set the theme how they want us to, power level 10K / power level 10K. Power level 10K / power level 10K, escape, WQ, enter, clear the terminal, Control-L. And so now we have our plugins installed. We have our theme installed. Nothing is applied yet because we need to reboot the terminal, but before we do that, I'm going to come over here again to archlinux.org. I'm going to come to the wiki, and I'm going to look for pacman.conf, the pacman configuration file, because I forget where they keep it. We want to edit something in the configuration file, which is located here. So for that, we need sudo vim /etc/pacman.conf configuration. Hit enter. We're going to scroll down here to where we see color about halfway down. We're going to hit I, delete the hashtag in front of color so we can apply color. Scroll to the end, hit enter, and then we're going to type capital I, capital L for love, capital C for candy. I love candy, capital I, capital L, capital C. Escape, WQ, write and quit, clear the terminal, and now I'm going to close my terminal and reopen it for a new session, and all of that theming should have been applied. So the first time you open up your terminal now, you'll be greeted with this little configuration wizard for power level 10K. It's going to ask you, does this look like a diamond? Hit Y for yes. Does this look like a lock? Hit Y for yes. Does this look like the Debian logo? Hit Y for yes. Are these icons close but not overlapping? Hit yes. And now you can set this up however you like. I like mine to pop, be a little bit vibrant, so I'm going to select 3 for the rainbow. I'm going to select 1 for Unicode. I'm going to select 3 for a 12-hour format. I'm going to select 1 for these like little chevrons on the terminal, angled. Again, keep it on angled for the next one, sharp. I like the flat on the backs, the tails to be flat, so I'm going to hit 1. I like mine on 1 line, not 2, so I'm going to hit 1. I like mine compact, not sparse, so I'm going to hit 1. I like many icons, not a few icons, so I'm going to hit 2. Again, we want to see that Arch logo. That's the whole point of doing any of this. I like mine concise. I don't need all of the extra details there, so I'm going to hit 1. I'm going to hit yes at this one because I don't like having so much color there. I like when you just run the command and it does the little green chevron next to the command that you're looking for. I like to leave this on verbose, these instant prompt modes. I like verbose, more information is good. And then apply changes, hit Y. Clear the terminal. And so now we have this really sleek, customized, power level 10K terminal that everyone loves. I remember I saw this first on Manjaro, on their, I think it was GNOME, and I spent probably a good 2 days just trying to figure out what was going on, like how they got all of this. And finally, like through Reddit or something, I stumbled upon power level 9K or power level 10K, I forgot what it was at the time, and then spent the next several hours learning how to do it. And so now, since I've put in that much work, I like to use it. It looks sharp. So the very last thing here, just to wrap up, we're going to hit yay-s neofetch. Let that install. Clear the terminal, run neofetch, and you can screen capture that, post it on Linux, or not post it on Linux, screen capture this, post it on Reddit, tell everyone you use Arch, tell everyone it's riced out, and you got a nice looking desktop here. And that's the whole fun of this. If you're not customizing things in Linux, part of me thinks you're doing it wrong. The whole reason, not the whole reason, but a good reason to get rid of Mac OS and get away from Windows is to create the sort of computing experience that you want as the end user. I think that's a really powerful thing in the FOSS community and especially on Linux. So take what you've learned here and make the desktop environment you want. A lot of what we talked about in this video, you can change and tweak and move and configure to your liking. This is just meant to get you going and get you up to speed with how I like to set up my desktop environment. So thank you for watching. Hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, you can drop them into the comments below, and I'm sure I'll respond in pretty quick order. Also, a lot of this information I learned on my own through YouTube videos and Reddit. There's a really great, vibrant community surrounding Arch and Linux in general. So if something goes wrong and you can't quite figure it out, use some Google Foo and get on Reddit, and I'm sure the people over there will be more than willing to help you out. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time.